Hey, what's up, everybody? John from Hot Sauce Final Boss back with you here again. And this week, the one everyone's been talking about, the supposed holy grail of cheap Chinese micro racers. We've got the infamous Eachine Lizard95.
What does that mean? Infamous.
Oh, Dusty. Infamous is when you're more than famous.
What do we got going on in the box? F3, Betaflight, VTX, OSD, LED. Mine is the FreeSky version. Hopefully the receiver is decent. If not, I'll change it out to put an XM Plus in there if I don't like the range. Cool little diagram, I guess. And no, hold this up to a mirror and you might see the correct Eachine logo. Instead, it looks like something out of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic or something. Some glyphs. But yeah, that's the Eachine logo printed. Mirror image on the top of the box. So that's always confidence inspiring. So let's open it up and see what we got. Hopefully this one's in good shape and nothing is wrong with it. Full color manual. Pretty nice, actually. Well, not full color cover. Oh no, it's color printed inside. So yeah, we'll take a look through here. There's quite a bit of info in here, it seems like. So good job on providing instructions in case you need them. We'll see. And let's go through the extras first. We've got our Eachine 3S battery, 550 milliamp, 40C rating. And in case you were wondering, this battery does weigh 43.7 grams. So I have been shopping for some smaller 3S batteries for this thing. So I guess I need to stay about in that weight range. So we'll see if this battery's any good or not. Yay for the XT30 connector. I don't know, maybe it's 20. So not the thickest, but hopefully that'll stand up. Balance connector looks good. So what else do we get? Looks like a full set of the spare 5-blade 2-inch props. Come standard on the Lizard, and well, there's a hole in the bag for one of the props, so that's good. And a bunch of screws in the bag, so hopefully prop screws in here, maybe some, I don't know. I'm not sure what this is for, these little foam. Not really sure what this little foam bit is for, but shape of it looks like it might have to do with the camera or something. I guess we'll find out. And tools, so your cheapo depot little screwdriver, and yeah, including an Allen wrench is cool. Sometimes a motor screws or something are weird size, so that was pretty nice that they gave that. And looks like we've got a couple of foam pads, probably for putting under the battery. Some of the rubber bands, I think they have to do with the VTX and or the camera, keeping the camera in place. I haven't really. I know there are rubber bands involved. I guess we'll find out. And the USB to whatever that is, 4-pin JST 1.0 or 1.5 for the USB connection. So you've got an adapter. Oh, I see what's going on here. You've got the adapter, or you have the cable. So they gave you one of each. So that's pretty cool. So a lot of ways to connect to USB instead of just putting the USB port on the flight controller. So whatever, it seems like it would have been better that way, but some nice little Velcro, strippy battery. Put Velcro on your battery. That way it doesn't fall out. Here we go. Let's see what we've got. You know what? We're just going to cheat and pull the poorly glued back off and come out the short way. All right. Cool. So here we go. Honestly, this design looks a lot more complicated than it needs to be. It's cool. It feels sturdy. These things up here, which are definitely touching the circular polarized antenna, which it's going to cause interference, no? And I guess what people are doing is wrapping that electrical tape in. It's not even straight. My LED's a little bit crooked, and I don't know if you can see that, but they didn't do a great job of pushing the heat shrink over on the negative wire on my XT30 connector, so it's a little bit exposed. You do have a nice long antenna, and it is easy to replace with this new stuff. I forget what they call this, but this new tiny receiver plug. I wish they would have put some glue or whatever that is. When you get a XM or an XM Plus from FreeSky, they have this same connector, but they put a little bit of adhesive or something on there so that it doesn't, so it stays on better. Hopefully that doesn't pop out. It does just kind of come at the bottom here, and I'll probably tie wrap it up out of the way of the props, and hopefully the range is good. This is the part that looks solid, this X shape that they've got going on here. They do give you a pad, but I'm not exactly sure why these like roll bars or standoffs are there. Like I said, it's just the frame has a lot of parts. It seems overly complicated. I guess it looks kind of cool. Looks kind of nuts. You've got the Eachine branded 1104 6000 kV motors. kV seems low, but that's because this thing is really built to run on 3S. So we'll see how it does on 2S. I like to fly in 2S. I'm a little bit worried it might feel underwhelming with the 6000 kV motors. We'll probably run a couple of 2S batteries through its stock just to see how it does. I'll charge up the 3S battery that came with it, and then we'll run it through there. I was thinking about getting Betaflight 3.2 on here right away. All right, so I'm going to see if I can power this thing on, get it all configured and bound to my transmitter, and we'll go through Betaflight, and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so the first problem I ran into was with the camera VTX combo. I would take off, and it would just cut out. Boom. So at first I thought maybe I had my goggles tuned to the wrong channel, so I kind of double checked that, and that wasn't the case. So here we go again, just cuts out. Boom. So what's interesting is the first wave or batch of lizards that went out, all the people who got them reported that the camera came set to 25 milliwatts by default, and that it wouldn't remember through a reboot if you changed it to 100 milliwatts. My camera was actually the opposite. Mine came set to 100 milliwatts by default, but would remember through a reboot if you changed it. I figured the camera was probably getting really hot. One of the things I had done before I started flying was, so there's a little rubber band that basically holds the camera to the camera mount. And anybody who's had one of these micro all-in-one VTXs know that they get hot, and if you try to rubber band them, the rubber band will heat up and break. So I went ahead and put some hot glue in the camera to keep it in place. And when this started happening with the camera or the VTX cutting off, I just set it to 25 milliwatts and left it there, and it worked fine. So unfortunately, I can't really use mine at 100 milliwatts, or I'm afraid to continue to try to, because it would just cut off every time. But the good news is it does work really well on 25 milliwatts. All right, so now that I got the camera squared away, at least partially, I tried to fly. And the next thing I noticed was a lot of vibration and some pretty sketchy handling, even on a 2S battery. I tried to tune the PIDs a little bit, but there's just a lot of vibration going on, and this kind of confirms what I had been seeing leading up to getting to the Lizard, was the strong recommendation by most people to soft mount the motors. I decided to go ahead and do that. We'll see how much it actually helped. I wasn't really expecting it to be 1,000 times better, but I figured it was kind of necessary. So I went ahead and put 3 layers of electrical tape under each motor. At this point, I've also updated to Betaflight 3.2 release candidate. So I decided to go ahead and try out the new dynamic filtering feature. So after I got the electrical tape installed as soft mounts, I turned on dynamic filtering and started disabling the gyro notch filters one at a time. And I was successfully able to get all 3 of the filters disabled, the gyro notch 1 and 2 and the D-term notch filter, and fly a little bit and not get hot motors. So the very next flight footage you're about to see is the first flight. I did it on 2S with dynamic filtering on, the soft mounts installed, and all the notch filters off. And this is where Lizard starts to get really interesting. Enjoy.
they're cooler than before. Like real cool. Feel it?
flying hard. You see how hard?
Yeah. Really cool. Look at that.
They're definitely not any warmer than they've been at any point.
Not at all. Really cool. Masterful.
Big shout out to Pablo for hanging out with me during this whole process and bringing his camera by and taking some shots of the drone. Thanks, Pablo. I realized watching that back, I looked pissed off at the end of the video. I was actually really excited and more than anything, just shocked that the difference from a couple hours before, updating the Betaflight 3.2 soft-mounted motors and making those changes. It was like a night and day kind of thing. I had thought that the Lizard was a bit of a stinker earlier in the day, but it started flying really good. So really, really exciting stuff. So after that flight, let me just kind of show you where the Lizard's at now, and then we'll get to, I got 2 more flights to show you. One is on 2S and one is on 3S using this exact configuration you see here now. So just go over with you where we're at. Like I mentioned with the camera, the rubber band is a joke. So I just kind of filled up some hot glue in here between the camera bracket and the camera lens. I just kind of tie wrapped my receiver antenna back to keep it out of the props. Wrap the antenna guard in electrical tape because you can see the antenna will kind of make contact with the frame otherwise to, kind of avoid any interference issues there. And the next 2 flights you're going to see are on these Gemfan 2035 props, which I like a lot. The stock 5-blade props were okay. They were kind of noisy and felt a little bit weird. I know I might be giving up a little bit of thrust going to the 4-blade Gemfans, but these props are really, really good and they're really hard to break. I tend to favor these, so you'll get to see how it flies on both 2S and 3S with these props. And changed out my battery strap. The default battery strap, pretty cruddy. Something else I haven't mentioned yet is the 3rd LED on the strip on mine was barely working. It was kind of acting like it was shorted out when I first got it, and now it's completely dead. So just for the sake of symmetry, I've kind of disabled the other middle one and I just roll with the 2 outside ones. I'm not really that concerned about the LEDs anyway. And yeah, there you have it. So is this the best micro you can get? I don't know. If you really want to do things on 3S, this is probably a great choice. This seems to be a better 3S quad than it is a 2S quad. Some of the lighter ones out there with higher kV motors, like the Airfun Pro, which is 7500 kV. This thing flies really, really well on 2S. So I guess it really just comes down to, do you want something that you're going to run on 3S and be crazy, or do you want something that's going to be really fast on 2S? Maybe you have a bunch of batteries already. Maybe, have a preference. But I was not excited for the first few hours. I was trying to get this up in the air. I was disappointed, but I got there. And I think if you are going to get one of these things, you might want to be prepared to do a little bit of configuration and maybe a little bit of modding, and right out of the box, not so much. So stick around, watch the 2 flights, enjoy. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.